It's round 9 of World Supersport in 2016. Kenan Sofuoğlu starting on pole position. Nicki Ciuli, the first ever Finnish rider on the front row. Gino Rea joins them. Bergman, Krummenacher and Cluzel, a very mixed row too, from Zanetti, Badavini and PJ Jacobsen, still searching for his first win of the season. Then it's Stapelford, Caricasulo and Smith from Far at home in Germany. Michalczyk and the leading ESS runners at Koni. Then it's Baldolini, Ride and Bassani behind them. Rolfo is 19th from Akubo and Lati. He is the teammate to Hannes Suma this weekend. Canducci, there is Soma, then Kyrudin, Gamarino, Jezek and Calero is row 9. Cedric Tonga on the only Suzuki in the field from Lachlan Epis, Stefan Hill from Coventry in the UK, Gobby, Sturpay and Orts across row 11. And so they pull away. Watch out for the ESS class runners. Michalczyk is the leading runner on the grid for them, starting from 14th position, but it's this man in the overall race who will lead them off from pole position. If you're joining us for the first time this year, this is the first time we're at the Lausitz ring since 2007. Look at the air temperature though, 14 degrees Celsius, and that could be a real factor because of course it's influencing the lack of sunshine, the ground temperature as well, just 21 degrees.
Yeah, and if you were tuned in to watch yesterday's race 1 for World Superbikes, it was about a 31 degree track temperature, so there has been a significant change in the weather compared to yesterday, Greg. Yesterday it was the threat of rain in the morning, whether or not we'd have a dry line developing. Now it's a bit windy, there's a coolness and a cool air just blowing across the Lausitz ring. But just looking at the tyre selection sheet, really does show just that this is the first race that we've been here. Guys haven't been able to get a race simulation in. There's a huge variety of tyre choices across the grid. Kenan Sofuoğlu going with the softest front and a medium spec rear tyre, and a lot of riders just going with what they think is probably the best for their own preferences rather than with their own knowledge of what to expect from the race. So you've got some guys going softer, some guys going harder, and we'll just need to keep an eye on that. But it's worth noting that yesterday in the World Superbike Race 1, Chaz Davis was incredibly consistent throughout, didn't suffer a tyre drop, so it would imply that this track surface isn't as abrasive as what some people were expecting, and it could actually give good tyre life over the course of the 19-lap race here for World Supersport.
There's the championship situation following the Caricasulo disqualification at Rosano. The lead for Sofuoğlu over Krummenacher has come down by 2 points, but it's still a very healthy 38.
So what's actually very interesting when you look at the championship, obviously it's been 3 months since any of us have seen World Supersport out on track, but it's worth noting that Gino Rea is only 15 points behind PJ Jacobsen. Both riders have had very contrasting seasons, but that's actually a really interesting fight now, just for third in the championship.
And incidentally, happy birthday from Steve and I to Gino Rea. He turns 27 today, so what can the birthday boy do from the front row of the grid here in the meantime? He's the only rider in the current field to have actually won a World Supersport race here at the Lausitz ring. Sofuoğlu did the honours exactly 10 years ago on a Honda, but of course he's now very much a Kawasaki man. There is Nicki Ciuli, and we are waiting for Gino Rea. Hopefully no return of the problems that saw him have to pull off the track into the pit lane at the end of the warm-up this morning. What can this man do? The Finn, he's certainly got nothing to lose. Nicki Ciuli, the 20-year-old in the middle of the front row of the grid. We've got to go all the way back to June, to the last time we had a World Supersport race. Now it is mid-September. We're back in action at the Lausitz ring. Watch the lights at the top left of your screen. When they go out, we will be racing, and it's a superb start for Bergman from 4th on the grid. I hope he didn't jump it. Down to the left-hander at turn 1, and Nicki Ciuli punching through. Or is he? No, he's not. Sofuoğlu around the outside. Cluzel's up there as well. And Krummenacher's lost a few. Krummenacher has dropped 1 position, down into 6th from 5th on the grid. If they all get through here cleanly, it's going to be absolutely amazing, but it looks good so far. Look at this, Zanetti side by side with PJ Jacobsen, and Cluzel's forcing out Gino Rea. He barges through past the customer envy, and he's up into 4th, but it's Ciuli attacking Sofuoğlu at the front.
Yeah, great start there from Cluzel to get back to 4th, but Caricasulo was hugely aggressive on the way into turn 1 there. You saw the bike bucking and weaving underneath him, but really strong start from Caricasulo just to get through. Obviously, the disappointment from the last round, Greg, he's now got points to make up, but a strong start off the line from Bergman, and he's managed to take 3rd, but it is still Kenan Sofuoğlu out in front. And really, these guys do need to press straight on Kenan.
Oh, and a big one there, Steve. That's one of the San Carlos right, Team Italia riders. That is Zacconi, who is out of the race, and that's major news for the FIM Europe Supersport Cup this year. Look how bumpy this track is. Bergman, Cluzel side by side. Jaunt comes through, passes Christopher up into third position. Oh, that envy's all over the place as they come down to turn 10 for the first time. And now Niki Chuli's at the inside of Sofuoğlu, side by side behind as well. Karikasulo's attacking, but Niki Chuli's in the lead.
Yeah, this is exactly what we needed to see. We needed to see these guys take the fight to Sofuoğlu. If Sofuoğlu has a clear track in front of him, he can just clear off and check out in this. Whereas Chuli's been able to put himself into that position now. Really strong move under braking there from the Yamaha rider.
And don't forget, he tested here in the summer as well. Wow, this is absolutely superb. One of the most energetic first laps I think we've seen in any of the World SBK races so far this year. Look at Cluzel now, Steve, right up behind Sofuoğlu. And of course, Jaunt has nothing to lose in the championship. He's so far back, he doesn't care about Kenan Sofuoğlu's championship attack.
Yeah, these guys, Greg, haven't been racing for 3 months, so they can be excused for being a bit aggressive at the start here, but really everyone's keen to attack one another. You can see Cluzel now really eyeing up Kenan Sofuoğlu. Sofuoğlu just not looking as comfortable as what we're used to seeing. He's taking those tighter lines, trying to be a bit defensive, and you can see Cluzel just able to put his bike anywhere he wants, but does he have enough power just to get through on the Kawasaki on the way down into the heavy braking of turn 6?
Well, he's certainly up the inside, but no, he is not through. Thinks better of it this time around. Both very, very experienced, of course, Kenan Sofuoğlu and Jaunt Cluzel. It's allowing Chuli to break away. Bergman is still fourth, and it's Gino Ria. Randy Krummenacher still down one spot from his grid position. He's in sixth at the moment. Karikasulo, as you've already pointed out, from that great start, has gone from 11th to 7th. Zanetti is 8th, Jacobsen, Badavini, all inside the top 10. And now here we go. No, still not through this time. Remember the battles these two had last year. Remember Assen. Remember Portimao, remember some of the antics both on and off the track. There is real history between Sofuoğlu and Cluzel, and this is the first time, to be brutally honest, that we've really seen the two of them going head-to-head on the track this year. Meantime, here's Randy Krummenacher. He's attacking Gino Ria. This is vital for the championship this year. He's losing points at the moment to Sofuoğlu, but he's still not through. This is the fight for fifth.
Yeah, and Gino defending really well there to keep Krummenacher at bay. You can see there again, though, just the extra power of that Kawasaki, just able to allow him to attack the MV. That's similar to what we saw with Cluzel, just being able to stay in that slipstream but not actually able to make a move on Kenan Sofuoğlu for second. Right now in front of this battle, we are seeing Sofuoğlu start to open a gap towards Cluzel and pull back to Chuli. Right now there's a gap of about 3/10 between Sofuoğlu in second and Cluzel in third. Sofuoğlu actually with the fastest lap of the race so far as well on the first flyer.
More drama further back in the race. Stefan Hill has just crashed at turn 9 and rejoined. That's one of the 4 riders in the CIA Landlord Insurance Honda team.
And also it's worth just noting that Kyle Ride into the points now as well, his first ride on the Kawasaki after a difficult season for a ride, but potentially able to get a few points here today. And you can see him just at the top of the screen in the yellow bike.
Here comes Sofuoğlu up the inside of Niki Chuli. This is lap 3, and see if Cluzel can benefit from this. They tip it left through turn 6, down through 7. Here comes 8 in the background, by the way, coming out of turn 5. That was Bassani running wide, but thankfully no repeat of his teammates' crash on the first lap of this race.
Yeah, what's really interesting is this is the section where Gino Ria said that the MV for him, the customer MV for him, was really struggling. Specifically the exit of the corner they're coming into now, just because it's a long corner. He said that the revs sort of drop off and he just doesn't quite have enough drive to be able to attack. But you can see right now it's Gino Ria that is actually closing in a lot of time, 1/4 of a second faster than Chris Bergman on the last sector. And you can see the well, again, you can see Krummenacher just staring at Gino Ria, probably just saying that if they work together they can get to that lead group, but both guys really want to be the guy in the front of that train moving towards Bergman. So they are attacking one another. You can see they cost themselves that 1/4 of a second that was gained in the first sector is lost now just with that bit of fighting.
Well, Randy Krummenacher is going to have to be extremely careful as well here, because if he throws it down the road, that will pretty much be the championship gone, wouldn't it, for 2016? It wouldn't be mathematically, but realistically he would really be in a difficult position. And at the moment, with 75 points left up for grabs at the last 3 races, Sofuoğlu would have a 53-point lead going to Magny-Cours in France in 2 weeks' time. So Sofuoğlu really in the pound seat. This man, Krummenacher, number 21 on the green bike, he's got to fight through. He's got to pass Ria, but Ria's pulling away. He will start catching Chris Bergman. So Krummenacher just needs to keep up behind Gino Ria. There's no more he can do at the moment. Ria, though, almost out of the seat there as they come out of turn 5. One of the markers is on the track. I would imagine that was from when Bassani ran wide earlier on in this race. And at the moment, it's Sofuoğlu just beginning to eke away. It's a 3/10 of a second lead. His 2007 lap record, as you saw on the graphic last time round, has gone. And now he's just hoping Thule can just keep Cluzel at bay, because Jules Cluzel's desperate for what would only be a second win of the season. The first one, of course, came in Thailand back at round 2. Now, down into the right-hander of turn 9. Watch them through here. They're at full lean angle. On the power, and then up to the left-hander at turn 10, which, if you get a good exit out of here, is a very good passing place. Here's turn 10 now. Look at Bergman, he's right up behind Jules Cluzel. Then it's Ria, Krummenacher, Caricasula, who was electric off the line, is 7th. Jacobsen is 8th. Zanetti, who's had a really difficult season. Cluzel's teammate is 9th. Kevin Vahr, 10th, the leading German rider. Badavini, the Sepang winner, is 11th. Kyle Smith, the Assen winner, is 12th. Luke Stableford, as Steve has already pointed out, having a really strong Lausitz ring debut, 13th. Okubo, who tested here and who has re-signed for 2017, is 14th. And then Alex Baldolini, who had a really difficult qualifying session yesterday, is up into the points. Look at these lap times down the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, and you can see there that Thule was actually the fastest guy on the track last time around, and able to just eke back towards Kenan Sofuoğlu. I said that earlier that if Kenan got a clear track, he'd be able to pull away, but you can see here Thule actually did a really impressive job to stay with him. And it is Sofuoğlu to lead Thule in second, and then a little bit of a gap developed there to Jules Cluzel. Right now it's about 3/4 of a second. But in the group behind, you can see Randy Krummenacher has gotten through on Gino Ria, but they need to work together to close in on the back of Chris Bergman. It's a 1.5 seconds now between them.
Of course, so much motorsport interest in Finland at the moment, with the news that MotoGP will be going over there to make a return in 2018, and of course in the past F1 success with the likes of Keke Rosberg, Mika Häkkinen, and of course all sorts of World Rally champions as well from Finland over the years. Here's a replay of the start of this particular race, down into the left-hander of turn 1. Look at Caricasula. Steve said he'd made an incredible start. He very, very, very nearly took Jacobsen out of the race there. And then we saw Zacconi departing here at turn 8 in a rather spectacular high side. There it is on the right-hand side, and that could well be the defining tale of Alessandro Zacconi's ESS title attack for 2016. He almost hung on to it, but the bike's got further than the rider in this particular encounter. I don't know whether the bike's still going, but Zacconi is certainly not. Look at this now, lap 5 of 19. We've had an incident further back for Michael Canducci, the Italian, who is replacing Aidan Wagner at GRT Racing alongside Gino Ria for the rest of the year. Canducci looks as though he's out, but look at Thule, another fastest lap. These two pulling away from the rest of the field, but he's piling the pressure on the 4-time world champion.
Tell you what, Greg, last year we saw a rider come in as a wild card at Donington on a Yamaha, Kyle Ride, and really impress. 2 years ago we saw Mahias come in at the end of the season on the Yamaha, really impressed, and now you're seeing Thule do the exact same thing. Really impressive performance. We've seen all year that Sofuoğlu, once he hits the front, doesn't tend to get attacked again. He's able to open a bit of a gap and just maintain that, keep it comfortable, but he is actually being really harassed here by Thule, and really impressive performance from the former European Stock 600 rider.
And incidentally, in that race at Donington last year, in which Kyle Ride came in and impressed as a British Supersport title contender at that time, he was fighting with the likes of Cluzel and Jacobsen and Sofuoğlu that day. Guess which Finnish rider came in and made his debut and finished in 9th position? That's right, Nicky Thule. So he's really, really impressive. Just 20 years of age. He took a year out of racing for his national service in Finland. He has been racing over there this year, though, to dominate the Finnish Superstock 600 title race. In the background, side by side, Krummenacher and Gino Ria are very, very close to each other. Or has he actually caught Bergman now?
Yeah, he's caught Bergman, and he's probably through on Bergman now. Last time around, Krummenacher was able to take a big chunk of time out of Bergman. Really, we've seen Bergman just sort of fall back towards that group, and now the key thing for Krummenacher is, can he get closer to the front? Right now the gap is 3.5 seconds towards Cluzel, so he really needs to close in that gap, otherwise any slim chance the championship is completely gone.
Well, he starts this lap, Steve, 13 to go, lap 7 of 19, 3.7 seconds behind, and look at the smoke off the left boot there of PJ Jacobsen. This is 8th position for the New Yorker, and he's been caught here rapidly by the MV Agusta of Lorenzo Zanetti. Fight on screen then for 7th and 8th positions in this race. Badavini is still 10th. And
last time around, you can see now the gap between Sofuoğlu and Thule. It has grown a bit. Thule was 2.3 of a second slower last time around. Cluzel's actually been the faster man compared to that, and you have seen him eke closer towards second place. And this is what can happen easily in a race, where you do have to manage that tyre, where you have to manage the pace, you have to try and be consistent, and that's just what Sofuoğlu does so well. But you're seeing Tooley now just start to fall back from the race leader. The gap now is about 3/4 of a second.
And this is helping Krummenacher. The fact that Bergman is now being hunted down by Gino Ria and Federico Caricasulo, then the other scrap behind them. They might start to catch the Italian on the yellow bike. Jacobsen on the white Honda in the background. There he is, just coming into the shot at the top of the screen, followed very closely indeed by Lorenzo Zanetti. Cluzel appears to have gone off the boil, relatively speaking, as well over the last few laps, following his very, very aggressive start to the race. And by the way, at the moment, in the ESS category, although Zacconi has crashed out and Bassani is ahead of Michalczyk, who is the leading rider in that category, it would be status quo in the championship, because none of them are in the championship points anyway. Bassani is the leading ESS rider, but he's only 16th in the race. He needs to get ahead of Kyle Smith, who's 3 seconds up the road. So hopefully for him, I suppose, he needs some sort of problem in front of him in order to, what would be, extend the lead in the ESS category for 2016. What can Randy Krummenacher do? This is looking a little bit desperate. He's 4.1 seconds behind now, with 8 laps still to go. We know he's stepping up to the World Superbike class next year. Will be taking his crew chief, 2-time Supersport world champion Andrew Pitts, with him. Oh, and he's really falling into the clutches now of Bergman, who's caught him, and Gino Ria. And if anything kicks off, Caricasulo will be right there as well. Dangerous zone now for Krummenacher. This is not good news for Krummenacher.
Yeah, Krummenacher looks like he's got a bike that's able to make the moves but not actually set the pace. So really it looks like in this group you do need to get to the front and try and pull away from Krummenacher, but he has got a really strong bike on the brake and good top speed as well. It's difficult to make the moves, and you can see Gino Ria with a problem there as well. We saw a technical issue for Gino this morning, and another problem now for the Englishman.
Oh dear, birthday boy Gino Ria. It is not a happy birthday by the looks of things for the Londoner. He was so pleased to be leading his group here in the test over the summer, but it looks as though it's gone wrong again.
He's got the Venom helmet on today, and he's probably spitting venom now at this stage. But just look back to the group at the front, Greg. You're seeing Sofuoğlu around about a half a second lead from Tooley. And we'll just catch a replay now. If you look at Gino Ria, the third bike, you can just see clear technical problem for Gino. No drive, and he's out of the race, unfortunately. Had been a strong performance by Ria in these early stages of the race, in the opening half of the race. We got on the 8th lap there, Greg, 10 to go, and really it does look like Kenan Sofuoğlu has been able just to consistently grind out those extra couple of tenths, but Tooley is digging deep here and still trying to attack on Sofuoğlu.
Yeah, another fastest lap for Nicky Tooley on what was lap 8 of this race. There's the confirmation. Half a second lead. Incidentally, I thought Gino Ria was very sensible there, Steve, to pull right off the track immediately, just in case any oil was being dropped down, as it was this morning when he had that exhaust problem.
Yeah, and Tooley made all that time in the final sector of the lap as well. It's that section where it's a little bit twisty, a little bit more technical. That's where the Yamaha seems to be really quite strong right now, but you can see really impressive stuff, and this is exactly what's great about World Superbikes and World Supersport, is that a wild card can still come in and show what they can do and impress.
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times, haven't we, this year? The fact that back in the day you'd have Japanese riders coming into Sugo and winning the race. So this is great stuff for Nicky Tooley. Here he is on the blue Yamaha. Into the pits comes Gino Ria then at the end of lap 8. The race is run for the rider who started on the front row of the grid and was running strongly towards the front of the grid through no fault of his own. So bitter call, I'm afraid, for Gino Ria. Sofuoğlu leads, Tooley is second. This man, Cluzel, is third, and incidentally, Axel Bassani now moves into the points and would claim 1 point then, extend his lead in the ESS category thanks to Gino Ria's problems.
Yeah, and you can see Tooley now right on the back wheel of Kenan Sofuoğlu, and about 0.3 of a second faster on this lap alone, and just easily pulling away from Cluzel. And it is now just a fight between the leading two to see who can actually take the win. And I said earlier about tyres and basically the different combinations everyone's using. Both of these guys using the same front tyre, but Tooley with a slightly harder rear tyre as well.
Oh, very interesting indeed. And these slightly cooler temperatures, that might come into his favour then towards the end of the race, and it certainly seems to be working at the moment. We're on to lap 10 of 19, 10 to go, so pretty much at half race distance now here in Germany, and Nicky Tooley is all over the back of the 4-time world champion. This is incredible.
And right now Tooley clearly has the faster bike, but he's also got a bike that he's able to put anywhere he wants. You can see there, just running over the exit strips that have already been turned up from the opening lap. But Thule's able to put his bike anywhere he wants. You can see him here taking much later turn-ins, able to take much sweeper lines, whereas Sofuoğlu's having to ride quite defensively.
Well, I was talking earlier on about Finnish World Rally Champions. He was almost sideways there, wasn't he, in a sort of Tommy Mäkinen-like fashion down into turn 6. Here is Bassani then, and there's the confirmation that he is the ESS race leader. But look who's right up behind him. One of them is Christian Gammarino, who is not an ESS class runner, but on the red bike is Ilya Michalczyk. He's the Ukraine rider, and he's desperate to get up in front of Bassani because he is fighting with Bassani for the ESS category this year. Just behind Michalczyk, you've got Kyle Ride, and Emily Larty's up there in the group as well. And here comes Michalczyk now, up the inside. By the way, Badavini's falling down the order. I don't know what's happened to the Italian, but here comes Michalczyk. He might gain 2 points here then because of the problem up in front of him, and he's gone through on Christian Gammarino. Next target now then is Axel Bassani. So you are watching right here, right now, the fight for ESS class runners here at the Lausitz ring, and he's taken 1 on this lap. He's now taken 2. Never backwards in coming forwards is Ilya Michalczyk, straight through for the David Solom Junior team. Great move. And that puts him then now up into what will be 15th position for the last World Championship point in this race.
Yeah, strong stuff from Ilya there to get back into the points. We saw Latlanakis has just crashed out as well, and you said about Badavini's falling down the order as well, so clearly making some sort of mistake. And see Ilya now leading the ESS class and in the points in 15th. But up at the front, Thule, you can see from the times that he's able to get right there with Kenan, but can he actually make a move? And it is difficult to make a move, even when you're a wild card. You're not sure about these guys and how they actually race, how they react on track. And Thule's able to clearly set a faster pace right now, but can he actually make the moves and make them stick?
Badavini, I mentioned, lost a few positions. He's still in the race though. He's still 13th ahead of Kevin Vasa. Michalczyk is 15th in the race. Kyle Smith is still completing the top 10, but look at this fight going on at the front. Just 0.3 of a second. What's going to happen? Are we going to get towards the closing stages and see experience paying off for Sofuoğlu? Will he start to eke out a lead? There's Toprak Razgatlioglu watching on. On the left-hand side is Manuel Pacetti, team owner and team manager. Or are we going to see that harder compound rear tyre really helping Thule on the blue bike in the closing stages of this race? These two are lapping consistently quicker than the whole of the rest of the field. Gilles Cluzel third and still 2.5 seconds behind. Oh, a spark flying there as they come through the chicane at the end of the lap. So that's a spark flying. We've seen a bit of a header almost off one of those markers coming out of turn 5. He's certainly entertaining us here.
Tell you what, he's impressing us here as well.
This is just absolutely scintillating stuff from the Finnish rider. Just 20 years of age. He did come testing here, of course, over the summer, but even so, super impressive. Now, what's for the sparks? I believe they came from Nicky Thule. There they are, as he tipped it into the right-hander of turn 13. Flick it back left then to turn 14 at the end of the lap. And all sorts of drama further back as well, Steve, still, for the FIM Europe Supersport Cup.
Yeah, you can see Bassani has now actually managed to get back through into 15th place. You can see just at the top of the screen there, Caracasulo really trying to be aggressive and getting the gas early, almost having a big slide and losing a bit of time there for the Italian in 6th place. But you can see here, the fight up at the front. Nicky Thule, as we said, able to really pick where he wants to be, but good, strong defensive riding from Kenan. And probably shouldn't be too surprised to see that from Kenan.
He probably shouldn't, should you? But he certainly wasn't expecting this. What a superb run it is for Nicky Thule, really putting himself on the map. And as I say, MotoGP off to Finland in 2018, so this is perfect, isn't it, for the Finnish media, for the TV broadcasters, for the fans, of course, more than anybody else, and certainly for Nicky Thule as they make their way down to the left-hander again at turn 10. He's already become the first Finnish rider to start on the front row of the grid in World Supersport, and now looking to make more history as well. What he is doing, of course, Steve, is just sizing up Sofuoğlu. He knows where Sofuoğlu's strong and where he's not. They straight line the curbs. Is he just going to try, I wonder, a last gasp attempt somewhere as they're moving to the closing stages?
I think he's going to have to try and make a move, but it's going to be difficult because when you look at Kenan, he is so strong, always under braking. But look at the difference in approach into the first corner here. You can see how much later the Yamaha rider's able to take that corner. But Kenan just riding defensively to hold him up. You see Chris Bergman now under attack from Caracasulo, who's really struggling to get that Honda stopped. But Caracasulo, we've seen throughout this season just how aggressive he can be. But just going back to Thule, an interesting note from from David Emmett just asking, is ice racing the new flat track racing, to teach riders about the demands that are needed in Grand Prix racing and in World Superbikes now.
Yeah, that reminds me, that particular commentator, Van Muller, multiple ice racing champion in 4 wheels, of course, and some of the amazing saves we saw from him when he went across to the British Touring Car Championship, first with Audi, of course, back in 1998, and then the champion there with Vauxhall in 2003. But look at this, Caricasulo all over the back of Chris Bergman. This is Sweden defending for his life here against Italy. Brilliant performance, it must be said, from Chris Bergman, the rider who suffered a horrible accident in the stock class at Magny-Cours a few years back. He was in the Superstock 1000 class last year, and he is the Öhlins test rider. Does plenty of testing over in Sweden. It's just as well, because this track is extremely bumpy. Puts the suspension to the test. Through comes Caricasulo, takes Bergman. On lap 13, there was a small mistake there for the Swedish rider, who will now try and dive back up the inside immediately. Great stuff going on here in the fight for fourth. This is turn 10. Confidence for the Italian all the way around the outside. And Federico wants to make up for the disappointment, of course, of being disqualified from the Misano race.
Yeah, and that's great stuff from Caricasulo. You could see there Bergman doing exactly what he should do, attacking straight back and trying to make the move on to breaking into the next corner, but really brave from Caricasulo just to hold that line and stay on the outside and drive around the outside of Bergman. Great riding there from Caricasulo. And we've seen this through this season, just how impressive the Italian has been on occasions.
And the next target is championship contender Randy Krummenacher, who is a further 2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, we're not seeing it right now on screen, but Tuli's lost about 3/10 on the last laps. The gap now at the front is out to half a second again. But we've seen this seesaw throughout, and Tuli being able to get back to the rear wheel of the Kawasaki. So we'll just need to keep an eye on that gap and see whether or not he's able to do it once again.
So it's Turkey versus Finland. It's Kawasaki versus Yamaha. It's Kawasaki Pacetti Racing versus Kallio Racing. And it's a 4-time, 36-time World Supersport winner versus practically a newcomer in only his second start at the age of 20. Absolutely dazzling performance for Tuli. Even if he finishes second here this afternoon, he has really put his mark down on the World Supersport Championship. Cluseli's still third. Krummenacher is fourth. You might just see Krummenacher's green Kawasaki in the background. There he is, just coming into the shots. Caricasulo is fifth, as we know, having passed Bergman in dramatic fashion here at turn 10. Jacobson, a disappointing 7th. An equally disappointing 8th for Zanetti. Smith is 9th. Luke Stableford's been fighting his way up through the order over the last few laps, and he's now in the top 10 on the Triumph for Profile Racing. That's fantastic. Baldolini 11th. After a disappointing qualifying session yesterday, saw him qualify only 16th. Okubo is 12th, re-signed for next year and feeling the positive effects of having tested here in the summer. Badarini 13th. Kevin Varr for Germany, in Germany, is 14th. Bassani is still just ahead of Mikalchik as they fight for the European Supersport honours in this race. They're separated by 1/10 of a second in 15th and 16th places. Carl Ryan 17th, Gamarino 18th from Rolfo. Then it's Emily Lahti. Kairodin is 21st from Hannes Soma, the Estonian rider, and Lahti's teammate Canducci, Wagner's teammate, replacement I should say, is 23rd. Then it's Calero, Tongra, Sturpe, Dobby, Jezek on his return after an optic nerve problem, actually, which saw him miss a few of the races. Jezek is back, but struggling in 28th place. Braden Ortt, the Canadian, is at the back of the field at the present moment. 4 retirements. Zacconi high-sided on lap 1. Stefan Hill had a crash. Gino Rea, a technical problem. And Epis has retired from this one as well. So 4 out, 29 still running. And look, the gap's coming down again. That was the personal best sector 2-time for Tuli so far. Personal best sector 3-time as well. And now he's only 2/10 of a second again behind Kenan Sofuoğlu. 4 laps to go when they next cross the line.
Tell you what, he's a dog with a bone right now, isn't he? He's
amazing.
Just really aggressive when he has to be and close that gap. But now he needs to make the move. Got 5 laps to go. But this is where the harder rear tyre may come into its own in these closing stages and allow him just to have that little bit of extra drive and try and make a move.
Here's the race pace run for Sofuoğlu so far down the right-hand side of your screen. You can see how consistent the 4-time world champion has been, but he's lost a bit of pace, look, on those last 2 laps, but it's all relative because Tuli's following a similar pattern. But on this lap, as they now cross the line, 42.2 for Sofuoğlu, 42.0 for Niki Tuli. The lead is 0.3 of a second on lap 16 of 19. 4 circulations to go of the Lausitz ring.
And you can see now Krummenacher under a lot of pressure from Caricasulo. PJ Jacobsen's managed to get through on Chris Bergman as well. So Bergman, after such a strong start, is falling back, and now Zanetti looks almost certain to get through on him as well. But when you look at Krummenacher, he is under pressure now from Caricasulo, and this is crucial for the championship. Krummenacher right now, if he put the flag out, would be 50 points behind Sofuoğlu. There's 75 points left. The championship, very difficult for Randy Krummenacher at this stage, but if he loses another place, it just means that by the time we get to France, it's almost impossible to see Kenan Sofuoğlu lose the championship. You can see Zanetti here, able to make the move on Chris Bergman under braking. And strong move from Zanetti there as well, and a good performance by Zanetti. We've talked about it throughout this season, that he has had his difficulties, that he hasn't been able to impress like you'd expect to see from a factory MV rider, but at least he's looking a bit more like himself this weekend, even if he's not able to quite get to the pace of Jules Cluzel. And it's important that PJ Jacobsen's able to make up these couple of points, Greg, as well, because right now the gap, if the flag was to go out now, the gap between PJ in third in the championship and Cluzel in fourth would be 15 points. So important for PJ just to pick up as many points as he can in this race. A race that he's not going to be able to challenge for the podium, but he just needs to try and recover as many as he can.
Real tension here now in Germany at the front. Sofuoğlu leads Nicky Tuli, the one-event rider, by just 0.4 of a second. Now I stress one event because I have heard that Tuli and his team may be doing the rest of the season. I'm all for that, Steve, if that is the case. Brilliant performance so far. Here's Jacobsen then, and he's he's sixth behind Caricasulo.
Yeah, with this kind of performance, it'd be no surprise if there's a couple of extra sponsors on that bike as well. If they do race in 2 weeks' time at Manny-Pro. But you can see there just how bumpy it is on that transition from the oval into the infield section. But the gap at the front now is about 1/3 of a second, with Sofuoğlu just a couple of thousandths quicker last time around than Nicky Tuli. And it shows just again how competitive you can be on different bikes in this championship. We've seen Luke Stapleford qualify in the front row in a Triumph. We've seen obviously the Kawasaki's win races. We've seen podiums for the Honda. We've seen lots of different results, MV winning races, and it does just show how competitive it can be. We've seen front rows from each of the manufacturers now as well this year, and that Yamaha, an aging bike with a replacement coming up, and it's still able to challenge at the front.
Yes, and it also shows how the modified technical regulations for this year, bringing the World Championship in Supersport here back towards the stock categories in national championships all around the world, is working, because it's allowing these wildcard and one-event teams to come in on similar technical regulations to those they've been used to on a national level, and immediately fight for points, fight for top 10s, fight for top 5s, at podiums, or even wins in the case of Nicky Tuli here this afternoon as they come through now to start the penultimate lap. Look at this. This is the championship as well for 2016, because Krummenacher here is in 4th position. That would be 13 points if he stays there. If he falls behind this man, Caricasulo, it would be 11 points. If he falls behind Jacobsen, it would be 10 points. So there's a lot of importance involved here. Krummenacher has got to keep these two Hondas behind him, and look how much quicker Caricasulo is through that last corner.
Yeah, and it's what we were talking about earlier on when we said that Krummenacher had the pace to make overtaking moves but not actually break away from people, and now you're seeing the rest of the field just come back towards him in these closing stages. But PJ Jacobsen has done a great job just to bridge that gap between himself and Caricasulo. Last time around he was a half a second faster than the Italian.
Sofuoğlu just put in a really good lap as well, but look at Caricasulo, he's squeezing at the inside of Randy Krummenacher on lap 18, and Randy's just seeing championship points falling away. Through goes Caricasulo, up into 4th, but back at the front. Sofuoğlu's making the break, he's 8/10 ahead of Nicky Tuli, but Krummenacher's going to lose another one because Jacobsen is coming through as well, down into the left-hander of turn 6, so both of them are through, and now Zanetti's attacking as well.
Yeah, and that was a move that was signposted just by virtue of the lines that Krummenacher was taking, trying to attack back on Caricasulo and get back through into 4th, but drops from 4th to 6th in the space of about 400 or 500 metres there for Krummenacher.
Somebody's lost some places further back as well, because not only has Michalczyk passed Bassani for the ESS class honours, but they've both moved up into the points. I don't know if it's Kevin Varr who's fallen back, but he's behind them now in 16th position. Here is Peter Krummenacher, former World Superbike racer, watching his man climbing up through the order again if he can. Jacobsen will attack Caricasulo. Now Randy Krummenacher will have to try and take advantage of this right here, right now, down into 10. Jacobsen is through, he's up into 4th. Caricasulo Caricasulo on the yellow bike still 5th. Then it's Krummenacher, but he's defending and attacking at the same time because Zanetti's right there as well. As this man, Kenan Sofuoğlu, comes through to start the last lap. He's been shown a lead of 1 second. It's actually 1.1 seconds over Ciuli. This should be Sofuoğlu's race if it stays like this. Cluzel is still 3rd behind Niki Ciuli, but 3.5 seconds down the road. And then this amazing fight going on for 4th position. Brilliant contest. Jacobsen on the white Honda, Caricasulo on the yellow Honda. Then the championship runner-up as it stands at the moment, the green Kawasaki. Pichetti Racing, Randy Krummenacher from Switzerland, and right behind them is the red and white MV, but he's not behind anymore because he's lost another one, has Krummenacher. Through goes Zanetti, not for long. Randy Krummenacher, I've lost 1, I've lost 2, I'm not losing 3, and Krummenacher just about holds on to that 6th position, but surely now any chance he had of getting back at Caricasulo has gone, because look at the gap that's opened up between the yellow Honda and the green Kawasaki. So now it's Krummenacher versus Zanetti. Zanetti's had a very difficult season. He lost his best result so far from Imola for a technical issue relating to the engines, and he's desperate to try and fight back up now into what would be 6th position. And here's the fight just in front of them for 4th and 5th. Jacobsen is 4th, Caricasulo is 5th. Any one of these riders then could swap positions before the end of this race, which is coming up in the next few seconds. This lot rounding turn 9 for the last time. Jacobsen backing his way around turn 9. The rear almost got to the apex before the front. That was Krummenacher running out across the curves in the background, kicking up the dust, but it looks as though it's going to be Jacobsen 4th, Caricasulo 5th, Krummenacher 6th, and Zanetti 7th as they come through the final chicane for the last time. But this man has put in an absolutely spellbinding last 2 laps. Kenan Sofuoğlu wins on the return to the Lausitz ring. Niki Ciuli for Finland, he's on the podium as a one-event rider. Jules Cluzel back in the top 3. And here comes New York's PJ Jacobsen to pick up a solid 4th place from 9th on the grid. Caricasulo is 5th, Krummenacher 6th, holds off Lorenzo Zanetti, but is now 53 points behind Sofuoğlu with 3 races to go. Bergman 8th, really strong weekend. Smith is 9th, Akubos fought up in the last few moments to 10th. Stapleton, Baldovini, Badovini. This man, Michalczyk, is the leading ESS class runner in 14th position. Picks up 2 points, and the man alongside him here, Axel Bassani, is 15th to pick up the final point in the race, and therefore the final point for ESS class runners as well. So that's going to close up a little bit, considering Sacconi failed to finish this race after crashing on the 1st lap. Well, that was a truly world champion worthy ride there for Kenan Sofuoğlu. He's the only man to win more than 1 race this year. He's now won 5 and done the hat-trick. The last 3 races have all gone the way of the Turkish world champion. Donington Park, Misano and the Lausitz ring. His championship lead is up to 53 points with only 75 left on the table, which means he could win the title at Magny-Cours in France in 2 weeks' time. But hats off to this man. Niki Ciuli, number 22 on the Callio Racing Yamaha R6, number 66. Just 20 years of age, and he's finished 2nd only to world champion Kenan Sofuoğlu. Absolutely superb performance for the 20-year-old from Finland. It looks as though we will see them continuing until the end of the season. It looks as though we will see them on the grid full-time next year. Look at all the gravel across the track there in the background coming out of turn 9. Jules Cluzel finishes on the podium. That'll boost his championship chances. He is now 21 points behind Jacobsen from 3rd overall. He's ahead of Gino Ria. Here is David Salom in the meantime, the Mallorcan team owner and former rider himself, of course, congratulating his rider with the David Salom junior team. Out goes the flag. Whoops, nearly lost it there as the rear wheel spun away over the grass. The flag of the Ukraine for Ilya Michalczyk. That's nice to see as he collects the honours for the ESS category. He'll be into Parc Ferme as well as a result of that. Lovely stoppie for Kenan Sofuoğlu. Down the back straight he comes. I worked out yesterday that there are... Oh, and what's happened here? That's one of the... That's Ciuli. That's Ciuli, who's finished 2nd on the Yamaha. His bike in the gravel. It looks as though Kel Edge, photographer and very experienced journalist as well here in the World Superbike paddock. Kel has been to almost every single World Superbike round since the championship started back in 1988. Good job, Kel, transporting Niki Ciuli back to the paddock. What on earth's gone on there? Please don't tell me he's gone and crashed it on the slowing down lap after such a marvellous performance across the race. Not that it matters too much, but Çuli in the gravel on the slowing down lap. And that's very nice. Kyle Ryde has managed to pick up the Turkish flag. I don't know whether Sofuoğlu must have dropped that then. Sofuoğlu had the Turkish flag. He seems to have dropped it somewhere. Good old Kyle Ryde has gone and picked it up for him and given it back to the Turkish winner. Well, my goodness me, that's the first time we've had more uncertainty, I think, on the slowing down lap than in the actual race for quite some time. Also extends Kawasaki's lead, of course, in the Manufacturers' Championship to 42 points now over Honda, with MV Agusta a further 12 in arrears.